What's better at doing things? The sentry gun or the turret? Hey guys, how's it going? Toofty here. And on the one hand, I was a little bit surprised that this video didn't exist yet. But on the other hand, I have no idea what the purpose or value of this video is. But I've had a lot of fun making this. It feels to me like the sentry gun and the turret both have very different roles in the games that they live in. The sentry gun feels way more brutal and contributes the majority of the engineer's damage, whereas the turret, it feels like it's just a small component of Tourbillon's damage output. So I thought it'd be really interesting to see how these two weapons compare in a number of factors such as their damage output, their health pool, their range, and a bunch of other things. So I've added a few timestamps down below if you want to skip to a certain part of this video. But without further ado, I hope you enjoy, and let's jump into it. So the biggest challenge on the outset was trying to figure out what the equivalent is of 1 HP in each game. What I decided to do, and what I thought was the fairest approach to this, was to use the baseline kind of default health point heroes and assume that those kind of heroes should have the same value in terms of their health pool. All I mean by baseline is that this is the amount of health that most of the characters have, and it's what I imagine as the starting point if, for example, you were designing a new class or hero from scratch. The idea being that the baseline should equate to the same value in each game, so by comparing the two numbers we can find a ratio and work with this going forward. So for TF2 that value is 125, so you've got Spy, Sniper, NG and Scout, and for Overwatch that value was 200, which is the amount of HP that actually 14 heroes have in that game. So from this, if we assume that 125 health points in TF2 equals 200 in Overwatch, what does that give us? It essentially means that every one TF2 hit point or health point is equivalent to 1.6 Overwatch hit points or health points. And that is kind of the foundation of this video. So let me know your thoughts on that, because I based a lot of the following calculations on this assumption. It's not perfect. I don't know if there's a better way. It made sense to me, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, now we've got that out of the way, we can take a good look at how much damage each weapon is doing. Starting off with the sentry gun, which has 8 shots per second and each shot doing 16 damage. 8 times 16 is 128. On top of this, every 3 seconds a rocket is fired that does 50 to 150 damage. Let's take the mid ground, 100, divide that by 3 equals 33 damage per second. So 128 plus 33 equals 161 DPS approximately. Beautiful. Moving over to the turret, 4 shots per second, 14 damage per shot. That equates to 56 DPS, and based off that ratio we worked out earlier, we can work out how much that 56 DPS is equivalent to in TF2. And the way we do that is divide by 1.6, and then we end up with 35 TF2 DPS. And in most cases we're going to work with TF2 values just because it's a TF2 channel. So that leaves us with 161 DPS from the sentry gun versus 35 DPS from the turret, which blew my mind and which very much made me question my calculations and go back about 10 times to try and make sure I got this right. But I'm pretty confident, I'm pretty sure I did. But again, let me know if you spot anything or if you have any thoughts in the comments below. Wowzers. That difference certainly exceeded my expectations. The sentry gun does 4.6 times the damage of a turret. This means if we placed a TF2 sentry gun into the world of Overwatch, it would demolish 200 HP heroes in less than a second. It would kill Tracer in 0.6 seconds, and it will take down Roadhog, the fattest and beefiest and thickest of heroes, in 2.3 seconds. This of course excludes the lock-on time, which is actually a really important factor. That gives you another 0.5 to 1 second in most situations to kind of escape that damage. On the other hand, if the turret was placed into the world of TF2, it would take approximately 8.6 seconds to take out a heavy. So he could pretty much just chill, wave at the turret and walk off, and it would take out a scout in approximately 3.6 seconds. But hold your horses. It's not all about damage, is it? Let's take a look at some of the other features of each weapon and how those compare too. What about range? What about deploy speed? Well, let's take a look at this very convenient, juicy table I put together. So the range of the sentry gun is 1,100 hammer units, the range of the turret is 40 meters, because we know that one hammer unit equals 0.01904 meters. With a bit more maths, which I won't bore you with for this section, we can figure out that the sentry gun has nearly half the range of the turret, which kind of makes sense. The maps tend to be a lot bigger in Overwatch, and those turrets in Overwatch seem to always be able to reach you wherever you are. If you're a Pharah and you're miles in the sky, no problem, it'll reach you. Whereas sentry gun, there's definitely an opportunity for playing outside its range. As for the other things in this table, I'm going to turn the winning columns green so you can see exactly how each one is performing. So I would say the next most important thing would be the health of each weapon. The sentry gun has 216 HP and the turret works out at 156 equivalent TF2 HPs. So the sentry gun not only does more damage, but it's also a lot beefier. Deploy speed, this is where the turret excels. You can throw it through the air and the moment it hits the ground, it's up and deployed in 3 seconds. Whereas the sentry gun, well, it just takes ages, doesn't it? I didn't figure out the exact time. Uncle Dane will tell you that. It takes ages, especially it takes me ages. The cost of the sentry gun is 530 metal, and this is a level 3 sentry gun of course, and the cost of the turret is nothing, although there is of course the cooldown to bear in mind. And finally the ammunition, well, sentry gun has 200 rounds and 20 rockets, which is plenty, but the turret has infinite ammunition. And to add to this table, some very important factors, the design of each. Obviously a little bit subjective, but it feels to me like the sentry gun is iconic. It's a beautiful design, whereas the turret, for me, feels a little bit generic. Do you know what I mean? If you told someone to draw a turret, they might just draw the Overwatch turret. Be good to get your thoughts on that. The sound effects, again, a tiny bit subjective, but the sentry gun, it just feels like a fine-tuned machine. The sound effects of that little beep as it locks on is beautiful, whereas the turret has a bit more of a rickety old, machine vibe. It sounds like it's shaking. There are lots of moving parts, but I'm guessing that's what they were going for. And the most important one, of course, is the handsomeness of the builder. So I'll leave that one down to you guys to decide. They're both very handsome chappies. These were some of the main factors I thought that were interesting to compare between the two weapons, but there are of course other things to bear in mind, such as the fact that you can throw the turret, which is actually a really nice touch. You can throw it onto high ground, 15 meters supposedly. The sentry gun, you can wrangle it, you can heal it from a distance. There are loads of cool little touches for that as well. But yeah, I just wanted to include this because it just goes to show it's not as simple as which does the most damage. Both have an awful lot of pros and cons and have a lot going for them. So far, it's very clear that the level 3 sentry gun, in terms of damage and health, massively outperforms the turret. So let's take a real quick look at how it compares to the mini sentry gun and see if this evens the playing field a little bit. So as you can see, the turret is much more comparable to the mini sentry in TF2. The turret can of course withstand more damage than the sentry gun, but it actually deals a little bit less damage than the mini sentry gun as well, which really goes to show how little damage the turret actually puts out. And as far as I could see, it was approximately 4 seconds to deploy the mini sentry gun. Still not quite as quick as the turret, but after hauling the sentry gun, it can actually go up much quicker than that at about 1.5 seconds. Okay, so I wanted to wrap up this video discussing the actual characters, Engineer and Torbjorn, and their role within the two games. I was going to try and compare exactly how much DPS each character did, but that of course is very difficult to do because firstly, Engineer has loads of weapons to choose from. Secondly, both characters have shotguns, the damage of which varies significantly depending on the range. So I'm not going to try and work that out accurately, but my feeling, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is that Torbjorn can output a lot more damage with his rivet gun than the Engineer can with his weaponry. Those left click headshots and those point blank range right clicks with his rivet gun are absolutely brutal. You can pick off squishy targets in the distance, sometimes with a single headshot, and you can melt down tanks when you're up close and personal. And that's the nice thing about his gun, it's really versatile. It's almost like the Rescue Ranger and the shotgun strapped together. It's clear to me that when you're playing Torb, you are the main source of DPS and your turret is more of a utility. It's a supportive tool for area denial and for protecting your back lines. It can sometimes almost serve as just a distraction and a great way to kind of annoy the enemy team or deny dives or flanking enemies. On the other hand, when you're playing engineer, your sentry gun is a massive deal, obviously alongside your other buildings, but your role is to keep up your buildings. That's your priority. Your sentry gun is the front line. If you're turtling a level 3 sentry gun, it's like having a bastion behind a Reinhardt shield. You can single-handedly hold off pushes and deny entire teams, whereas your shotgun and your pistol are kind of used as a last resort. They're great for fending off spies, or for defending yourself when you're in trouble, or if you have any downtime, and that's when you can play a bit more aggressively and try and help out your team with them. It feels to me like it's kind of an 80-20 split. What I mean by that is, Torbjorn himself brings 80% of the value to the game, whereas his turret just adds that extra 20%. On the other hand, in TF2, the engineer's buildings bring 80% of the value, whereas the actual engineer himself can sprinkle in that damage and add that extra 20%, which I think is a really interesting way of thinking about it, and two interesting approaches to creating and designing a hero. Of course, this changes if you play Battle NG and you're using the mini sentry gun. That's where things kind of even out, and it's a lot more 50-50 for the engineer. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, a particularly random one today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below on what I've discussed today. If you agree or disagree with me, throw a comment below, and I'll see you guys in my next stream or in my next video.